Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Hi, welcome back. I'm so glad to have a little chat with you again today. And I want to say hi to Natalie because she inspired this podcast. So thank you so much, Natalie. In this episode, I want to share with you a little bit about how we can really listen to the intuition. And I'm stumbling on the words because I didn't even know how I could present this podcast or what the title would be. So maybe you will help me. In order to listen to the intuition, not only do we need to get out of our head, but we get to be in the present moment. And sometimes it can feel really daunting. Like I've heard some of my clients say that it feels fearful to be in the present moment and be in alignment with their soul self because it sounds boring. Like if boredom comes with the present moment, like if boredom comes with freedom and happiness and joy. And this might come from, a belief that you have to use your time a specific way. And actually, boredom is a judgment on what the present moment offers, right? Boredom is just a judgment on time and how we should spend time specifically doing this thing in order to be worthy and valuable. So it could be, for example, when I worked in the media, I remember having requests from my bosses saying, I want this yesterday. So do whatever it takes, meaning you better hurry the frig up because we really want this. And the truth behind it, I remember one of my first bosses when I worked in media, and it was my first job there, and I was so excited. And I was, well, stressed out in the sense that I was taking my job very seriously and I wanted to do things right because I could see how doing things right, or by right, I mean doing what my boss was asking of me and what was required of me in my job, that if I did it fast and I did it efficiently and I did it, better than what she asked, that I would get the next job and get the next job. And one time she looked at me, she said, "Sit down. Claudia-Sam, we don't save lives here. Chill." And I remember that. It was so powerful because it was true. We were working in media, and as much as it was important to us to entertain our listeners, and one of my jobs was to gather prizes from the big sponsors who were paying lots of money for ads on the radio. They were one of the packages that some of them had were to offer a contest for 5 days on a specific show on the radio at a specific time. And so in my role, I got to help in the management of this contest. And so I worked with the prizes that we would give away and the winners and the disclaimers and everything that was included into that. And so, not to judge that that's not good, because it's so great to be able to offer something free to someone else and be able to provide such, abundance to people. I mean, I loved it. I really loved it. And I was one of these people who won a lot of things on the radio before I worked there. So it was really in line with me back then. And yet I'm not saving lives. Or maybe I am, right? Maybe this gift that this person receives actually was supporting them. Not that I want to get off this on a tangent right now, rather that the way to which I was working, the work ethic I had was not freeing. It wasn't present. it certainly wasn't calm. And what I realized is that the work was still going to get done. I didn't have to respond to an email so fast with, so fast that I didn't check my tone, for example, or I didn't have to run to give a response to someone in the office where I could walk and be present on my walk, and the result is going to still occur. So the thing is that the present moment is what it is. When I walk in the office, I'm walking. It is what it is. If it is stressful, I'm making the present moment of me walking in the hallway stressful. It's not good or bad. It's not better or worse. The present moment just is. What we get to see in the present moment is really a choice. For example, we could choose to label the present moment as challenging or as easy, as stressful or calm. We can choose to be in the present moment and discern that it just is what it is. So, for example, right now, if I look away from my computer and I can see the ocean and it's very windy, there's a lot of ripples on the ocean. I could say, gosh, it sucks. I can't go on my paddleboard. It's windy. I could also just say, oh, it's windy. It is windy. If it's raining, for example, maybe that's a little bit more relatable. When it's raining, I remember thinking things like, and I know this may relate to you, gosh, it's boring. I can't do the joyful thing I thought I could do. I guess this could be related as well to paddleboarding because it is joyful for me. I didn't have plans to go paddleboarding though right now, but I'll just say that I could define the weather as boring because it's preventing me from accessing joy through the type of activity that I had expected or decided I would do. But then that is my choice to make the weather equal boredom or equal whatever meaning, like this situation, this wind or this rain is pulling me away from accessing joy. So I'm going to blame the weather. Whether actually it's actually just what it is. It's raining or it's windy. Okay. So it doesn't have to mean anything. In order to be able to trust and listen to the intuition, the present moment plays a very big part. So the reason is that in this present moment, I can just say it's windy or it's raining. I don't have to equal it anything else. And the power of this is that when we're in the present moment, we become like this open vessel, okay, where intuitive nuggets, creativity, ways for alignment, ways to reconnect and get to know ourselves deeper can be dropped. And when we're not present, we may have a filled bucket of intuitive wisdom that we will never see. We'll never get the guidance that we receive because we're not present. And we're using what is the present and we're twisting its meaning based on what it has meant for us in the past. And that in itself is not being present. Being present is also helpful to notice when you are more creative. So, for example, if you want to be more mindful about what you eat and you want to be able to meal prep a bit more, I experienced this myself where there are times in my menstrual cycle, so times in a month where I will feel so creative and I could map out a bunch of things that I want to get at the grocery store. Thank you. I know that I'm privileged that I can go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm naming that. And I'm aware that when I have these spurs of creativity, that is my intuition opening up. And I want to be able to utilize that for as much prepping that I can instead of meal prepping for what I think needs to be prepped, i.e., the week ahead. If I just meal prep for 1 week, by meal prepping, I mean listing out the things I want to get at the grocery store so that when I feel like cooking what I want to cook, the stuff that I need is in my cupboard. Okay. in my pantry. So sometimes what can be helpful is to notice actually at this time in the month, I'm more creative. So I'm going to be present with that creativity and I'm going to let this creativity fuel what I list on my grocery list so that when I go to the grocery store, I have already utilized the creativity that poured out of me. I don't need to force it out of me. And that's when there can be a little bit of a misconstrued idea of what the intuition is. Like, I can't access my intuition. You can, you just get to listen to when it speaks to you the most. Because sometimes it'll just feel a little flat, and sometimes it'll feel like it's very abundantly guiding you, and you get to hear when that is. Okay. So, if, for example, another thing I know that a lot of you like to do is to write and to be creative in a way that works for you. And so, if there is a moment when you feel like you're more creative in your cycle, and your cycle, your seasons of creativity can look very different than they look from mine. And so that means that you can give yourself permission to be creative in these moments and be okay with the present moment of not being creative another time. It's a little bit like that example of wanting things for yesterday. But yesterday, that's an expression of like, I need it now. The rush energy i- is forceful. And what I am a fan of is living in alignment with our own flow, with our own inner rhythms. It doesn't mean that we won't produce the results. It means that we get to trust that our own rhythm, if it's not 9 to 5, but it's 8 to 4, or it's 10 to 6, or it's 11 to 3, whatever it is, that it still is as valuable. Okay. So I have for you, I've waited all this time to let you know that I have a list of 20 different tips and tricks of how I am present in my day and ways that I expand time and experience spacious moments throughout my day so that my intuition can actually come through at any time. Because the more we practice presencing in our day, the more we will recognize when those drops of inner guidance are coming through and are meant for us to hear, whether it's creativity, whether it's more of the doing energy, maybe it's more of the giving ourselves permission to slow down. We will just be able to hear them, and there will be less judgment on whether that is good or bad. So let's play in the present moment, shall we? Like right now around you, I invite you to look at what is. What is? Is it day? Is it night? What time is it? What's the weather like? What are you sitting on? Where are you? What are you seeing? What colors are you seeing? These are quote unquote facts of what is, of what's present around you. There are other things and levels of presence, like you can tune into being present to how you feel in this moment right now. It doesn't make the feeling of sadness or irritability or unworthy or unloved or pushed aside. It doesn't make these feelings good or bad. We just get to notice them. And noticing happens a lot in the present moment. Okay. So we can start by noticing things outside of ourselves, like the weather, like where we're sitting at, where we're at, what environment we're in. We can start by recognizing that. It can be a way in to practice the awareness muscle of presencing by looking outside of us first. And then you can go in, or the other way around, whatever feels the most accessible to you. I have a list for you of 20 different ways that I'm present in my day. And actually, there are so many more ways. I created a list of 50 ways that you can be present. So if you want that list of 50 ways to be present, just reach out to me with the keyword presence, presence. and I will share this list of 50 ways to be present. Okay. Because my ways are not the only ways. And again, the present moment lets the intuition be heard. So we're gently moving towards really being an intuitive being, really trusting the intuition. We first get to notice, then we get to hear the voice of the intuition, and then we get to actually trust and listen to it. There's a difference between hearing it and listening to the level of trusting it. So I'm just going to go ahead and share all these tips. Ready? Number 1, feeling my feet on the ground when I walk. 2, sensing the food go down my throat when I swallow. 3, smelling the food on my plate instead of just gobbing it while watching TV. 4, patting the dog and really feeling the fur instead of wanting to do it fast. 5, taking a breath in between sentences, out loud or silently. Feeling the sheet on the bed when I wake up. Adjusting my body's stance, so I'm not leaning on one foot or leaning forward versus backwards, and just kind of allowing my spine to be in its natural alignment. Number 8, drinking water by infusing an intention of optimal health before I drink it. 9, stopping to smell a flower on a walk. 10, walking on the beach barefoot so I can feel the sand move under my feet. Listening to the waves as I walk for a moment. After I listen to a podcast on my walk on the beach and before I walk to the car, it's like I press pause on the podcast, listen to the waves, then walk to my car. Go somewhere that's a happy place for you to feel good. Choose that. There's presence there. 13, being with each asana on the yoga mat. Actually, it's asana. Being with each asana on the yoga mat, meaning with each movement. 14, listening to the pocket soul coaching messages inside of my soul coaching community called the Soul Connector Circle. 15, gazing at the horizon. 16, looking at myself in the mirror and getting to greet myself, looking at myself through my eyes and really seeing me. Cutting veggies slowly on the cutting board, because it happened when I didn't go slow and I actually cut my fingers. 18, going on a paddleboard without my phone, looking at the waves, at the water, hearing the paddle in the water, all of that. Add 15 minutes between client calls to integrate the work that we do instead of rushing to the next thing. Feeling the steering wheel between my hands versus having a phone in the other or thinking about something else. I'm just really connected to the steering wheel and what I'm seeing while I'm driving. Number 21, feel my heartbeat. You can feel your heartbeat right now. Sometimes you can gently press on your chest with your hand and feel it in your chest. So these are just a few examples. And notice how these can take so little time. This isn't about presence, doesn't have to be boring. It's not like you're spending a whole day like twisting and turning your thumbs in not knowing what to do. This isn't what we're really talking about. I'm offering the opportunity for you to find presence in small capsules, small moments throughout your day where you can just be with what is without judging it, good or bad, so that you can allow your intuitive nuggets to come through more and more and more. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this was helpful. I love to share how I, do life because I love to share and I'm so grateful that you get to hear it. And again, this isn't the only way. I'm so curious and excited to hear what are ways that you will create for you to be the most optimal present person in your life in an incremental way, right? You get to be in this journey progress gently. And if and when you're like, oh gosh, I wasn't present today, try not to take the whip out and bash on yourself. Take a breath and choose again. Pick up the presence again. You got this. If you want my list of 50 ways to be present, chances are there will be way more than that. Send me the keyword presence and I'll share it with you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, Soul Connector.
You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. You are worthy of being you and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at claudiasamcoaching.com.